Vietnam, January 1967. Deep in the jungles northwest of Saigon, thousands of American troops were advancing into one of the most dangerous strongholds of the Vietnam War. Their mission was simple: find the enemy, destroy the enemy. Operation Cedar Falls had begun. Helicopters roared overhead. Artillery pounded the jungle. Entire villages were being searched. Every shadow could conceal an ambush. But amid the chaos of war, an American medic made a decision that defied the logic of the battlefield. He stopped fighting, dropped to his knees, and desperately tried to save the life of an enemy soldier. A single photograph captured that moment. Nearly 60 years later, it still forces us to ask, what does humanity look like in the middle of war? In January 1967, the United States launched Operation Cedar Falls, one of the largest military campaigns of the Vietnam War. Its target was the Iron Triangle, a heavily fortified region northwest of Saigon that had long served as a strategic base for communist forces. More than 30,000 American and South Vietnamese troops participated in the operation. Hundreds of helicopters filled the skies. Armored vehicles pushed through dense jungle. Artillery and airstrikes struck suspected enemy positions. American commanders hoped the operation would cripple the insurgency in the region. Instead, many soldiers found themselves fighting an enemy they could rarely see. The jungle was unforgiving. The danger was constant. And for those on both sides, every day could be their last. Then, on January 19th, something extraordinary happened. The image shows Captain Donald Klinestiver, a combat medic assigned to the 2nd Battalion, 503rd Infantry Regiment of the 173rd Airborne Brigade. Lying before him was a young female fighter from the National Liberation Front. According to historical accounts, she had collapsed during the operation after suffering a severe asthma attack and reportedly went into cardiac arrest. The battle around them had not stopped. The war had not paused. Gunfire could erupt again at any moment. Yet Captain Klinestiver focused on only one thing: saving her life. The woman on the ground had been fighting against American forces. She was, by every definition of war, the enemy. But in that moment, uniforms no longer mattered. Neither did ideology. There was simply a medic and a patient struggling to survive. Military medics swear to preserve life whenever they can. On that battlefield in Vietnam, Donald Klinestiver honored that oath, even if it meant saving someone from the other side. Did she survive? No one knows for certain. History never recorded her name. No official record tells us what happened to her after that day. We do not know where she came from. We do not know who waited for her at home. We do not know whether she ever saw peace. In many ways, she became one of countless anonymous faces lost in the tragedy of war. But the photograph survived, and perhaps that is why it continues to resonate. Because while history often remembers generals and battles, it sometimes forgets the individuals caught in between. This image reminds us that every casualty statistic once had a face, a family, a story, a life. Wars are often remembered through numbers: territory gained, battles won, lives lost. But numbers rarely capture the full reality of war. Photographs like this reveal something deeper. They show us that even in humanity's darkest moments, compassion can still exist. The medic and the young woman stood on opposite sides of a bitter conflict. They fought for different causes, under different flags. Yet when death suddenly appeared, one human being reached out to save another. For many veterans and historians, this photograph represents one of war's greatest contradictions. The same conflict that forces people to kill can also inspire remarkable acts of mercy. Years after the Vietnam War ended, Donald Klinestiver returned home to the United States. He eventually settled in Kaiser, West Virginia. Like so many veterans, he carried memories of a war that shaped the rest of his life. Among those memories was a single moment, frozen forever in time. Not a moment of victory, not a moment of defeat, but a moment of compassion. Nearly 6 decades have passed since this photo was taken. The war is over. The guns have fallen silent. But the image remains. We do not know whether the young woman survived. We do not know what dreams she carried into that jungle. What we do know is this. For one brief moment in a brutal war, an American soldier and his enemy were no longer enemies. They were simply 2 human beings caught in history. And perhaps that is why this photograph still endures. Because sometimes a single act of compassion tells us more about war than any battlefield ever could. War divides people. Humanity reminds us what unites them.